In this episode of the Dr. Clay Show, I'm going to talk about the problem with all or none thinking. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Clay Show. And I wanted to introduce you to my new BFF, my new bicycle, new cruiser as we call it in BMX racing. Cruiser's a 24-inch BMX bike. So I'm out here on the local little BMX track. It's not an actual racing track, but kind of a little BMX park, if you will, where you can come practice and whatnot. So I'm out here riding, and it made me think of, actually it made me think of how good I used to be. And I don't know if you know or not, but I used to be really into BMX racing when I was a kid. And I was very fortunate to be really good at it and to pick it up, kind of right off the bat and to go fairly far with it. And, what can happen is when let me finish explaining what's happened with me and what I was thinking about is how riding the track now, as I'm getting back into BMX racing, I find that sometimes I mentally struggle with riding and with even with wanting to ride. So I'm at home thinking, should I go ride? I don't know. It's, I'm not that good. It's not as much fun as it used to be because I'm not that good and I can't, jump these big jumps anymore and so on. Well, then I realized, man, you're thinking wrong. You're thinking with an all or none mentality. And what I mean by that is that, and I've done this in bodybuilding as well, but I'll explain it with the BMX scenario. And that's that my thinking that I've found that I'm struggling with, so to speak, is that because I'm not really good at it by my definition, that I just shouldn't do it. And that I need to, I guess I think that I need to wait till I'm magically good. I don't know, seems silly. But you kind of think, well, if I can't jump these big jumps, why even ride out here? Because when you've been able to do bigger and better things, it can be a bit anticlimactic, if you will, to do it on a much smaller scale and a much more modest and humble scale, and to not be nearly as good at that activity. So and think about some aspect of your life that you used to be really good at, where if you pursued it again, maybe a hobby that you used to do and be good at, and if you went to do it now, that you would be terrible, like maybe tennis or something like that. And, it can be, I bet you would agree, I hope I'm not alone, that it can be, like I said, demotivating and anticlimactic, and just, it creates that just enough of an excuse for you not to do it. Well, what I'm realizing for myself, and I want to encourage you to do, hopefully before it happens to you, is to ditch the all or none thinking. And what I'm starting to think now to myself is, hey, look, it's better than just sitting at home watching TV. Now, granted, my San Francisco Giants are playing in the World Series right now. I'm going to catch the end of it, don't you worry. But, I could be at home watching TV. And by the way, the Alabama Crimson Tide, my second favorite team in college football, is playing right now. I'll catch the latter half. Point is, there's lots of other things I could be doing right now, but those would not be bettering me as a person, would not be increasing or improving my health, increasing my confidence, even things like that. So the only way, what we have to realize is that doing something is better than doing nothing. And just because you can't do something all out, whether that's as good as you used to be at it or as good as somebody else is. Maybe you know someone else, like I went riding with a buddy of mine a few months ago actually, John Andrews, who was an incredible BMX racer, and riding with him was a little bit demotivating because he's so good at it, and he hadn't ridden in a while either. And I was like, man, it was again, it's kind of just like, well, why should I bother? John's jumping these huge jumps. Why should I try to jump this tiny jump or just try to roll over the jumps? The point is, let's not focus on what other people are doing or what we used to be able to do. Instead, what we need to focus on is not what we can't do, but on what we can do. That's worth repeating. That was actually a pretty good one. I know I've heard that quote somewhere before. It is important that you focus on what you can do as opposed to what you cannot do. So, with that in mind, that's why I decided to drive my butt out here to, I meant to say drag my butt out here. Although I have to admit, I did drive out here. Instead of riding my bike here, I put my bike in the back of my pimpin' Honda Element and drove over here. Nonetheless, I'm out here and I'm riding. I ain't good at it, but I'm doing it. And guess what? Today will be it'll be another notch on my belt, so to speak, another step toward getting better. But do not let that all or none thinking and that comparison, comparing yourself to your old self or to other people, don't let that get in the way of bettering yourself and doing something and taking action to improve yourself. Only compare yourself to your current self. With that in mind, if you'll excuse me, I have to go get better. Did you see that? That was like 8 feet off the ground, I know. Flat tabletop. Oh man, can't wait to see the replay.